Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive. Today we're exploring something maybe a little unexpected.
Oh, really? What's that?
Well, we're taking a look at the humanitarian work of Michael Jackson.
Wow, that's interesting. The king of pop, huh?
Yes, that Michael Jackson. We're going way beyond the hits and the headlines and everything.
I see, yeah.
We're going to uncover just how dedicated he was to making the world a better place.
It's amazing, when you start to look past the whole, superstar persona.
Right.
You find this incredible story of compassion, throughout his whole life.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hidden.
Yeah, it's like a secret history almost.
Yeah, totally.
I think it'll be really interesting to see what we can uncover.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow.
So where should we start?
Well, a lot of people might be surprised to learn that Michael's humanitarian side, it really showed itself long before he was like a global superstar.
Oh, okay.
Even as a young performer, he was known to visit children's hospitals all the time.
And a lot of these visits weren't publicized or anything.
So he was visiting kids in hospitals. But what made those visits special?
Yeah, it was definitely more than just a celebrity dropping by, people who were there.
Right.
They remember him spending hours with the children, really connecting with them. He would play games with them and sing songs, offer encouragement. He had this way of making each child feel like they were really seen and valued.
You know, I've read about his own childhood and how difficult it was, all the pressure of fame so young.
Right.
It makes you wonder if those experiences, shaped his empathy.
Oh, his own experiences probably gave him a very unique understanding of their pain and isolation.
Yeah.
There's a particularly touching story about his connection to the Brotman Memorial Hospital burns unit.
Oh, right.
After his accident, filming the Pepsi commercial.
Oh, yeah, that was awful.
Yeah.
I remember when that happened. I never knew about this long-term connection with the hospital, though.
Yeah, he had that experience, and it seemed to fuel an even stronger desire in him to help others that were going through a similar thing.
Right.
Trauma. He visited the burns unit all the time.
Really?
Offered comfort and support to the patients and their families way after the media attention had faded.
Wow, that really changes things.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got this pattern of personal engagement, like a real desire to connect with people in need, but then things get bigger with the Heal the World Foundation, right?
Exactly. This was Michael's biggest project, I think. It was a way to go beyond just personal kindness and to deliver aid globally. And he wasn't content with just writing checks.
Right.
He really wanted to create lasting change.
And he wasn't afraid to think big. 46 tons of supplies to Sarajevo during the Bosnian War.
Right.
That's incredible. What was the impact of that?
It was huge. At the time Sarajevo was under siege,
Right.
there were shortages. Those supplies, they were a lifeline.
Wow.
Food, medicine, blankets, thousands of people. Their lives were changed by that.
Wow.
And this wasn't a one-time thing. The foundation, it was involved in lots of projects, establishing programs in cities all over America to help kids in need, dealing with things like homelessness and poverty and education.
It's incredible to think about the scale of all of it. And then, of course, there's Neverland Ranch.
Right.
This, magical place that became so connected to Michael.
Yeah, for a lot of people, Neverland was all about extravagance.
Right.
But Michael actually used it to bring joy to tons of underprivileged kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he'd open up the ranch for events. He wanted them to experience a world of magic and wonder. It wasn't just material stuff.
Yeah.
He offered them a chance to escape, even just for a day.
I can't even imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah.
Okay, but we can't talk about Michael's humanitarian work without talking about the most well-known thing.
Oh, yeah.
We Are the World. This song had such an impact.
Absolutely. It was like a cultural moment. Yeah. He had all these superstars coming together.
Right.
All for this cause.
Yeah.
And they ended up raising $63 million for famine relief in Africa.
$63 million. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just the money. It kind of kickstarted all these other charitable efforts.
It did.
Inspired other people to use their platforms for good.
Exactly. And behind the scenes, there are all these stories about how dedicated Michael was.
Oh, really?
He was a perfectionist, pushed everyone to do their absolute best during that recording session.
Oh, wow.
Which is legendary now.
Yeah. So he wasn't just putting his name on it.
On art.
He was really involved.
Very involved, yeah.
But it's interesting to me that We Are the World, while important, it was just one piece of his work in Africa.
You're right. He didn't just write the song. He went there.
Oh, wow.
Multiple trips,
What?
visiting hospitals, orphanages,
Really?
engaging with the communities, getting to know the problems Africa faced.
So it wasn't just a symbolic gesture.
Oh, not at all. He was truly committed to understanding the needs.
Right.
And he wanted to help create meaningful solutions.
And one of the most tangible outcomes of all this was the Heal the World initiative in Gabon, right?
Yes. He personally funded vaccinations for 100,000 children.
Wow.
Against diseases like measles and polio and tuberculosis.
Wow. That's a legacy that continues to save lives today. It feels like we've just scratched the surface here.
There's so much more to uncover. His dedication to humanitarian work, it spanned decades.
Yeah.
And touched so many lives all over the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing to hear about all the work he did in Africa.
Yeah.
But his humanitarian work, it wasn't just Africa, was it?
It wasn't, no.
You mentioned environmentalism before, and that feels, well, really relevant these days.
It does, doesn't it? And he was so ahead of his time.
Right.
Back in the 80s and 90s, long before anyone was talking about climate change.
So how did that passion show itself?
Well, a couple ways. His music was one, obviously. Songs like Earth Song were huge for raising awareness.
Right.
But he also supported a lot of organizations, dedicated to conservation and stuff.
Okay.
Giving his time, money, the whole thing.
Earth Song. Man, that song is so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
And that video.
Yeah, the video's intense.
With all that deforestation, the pollution.
Yeah, endangered species.
It really gets the point across.
It does, and that was the whole point.
Yeah.
Michael, he knew how strong visual storytelling could be.
Right.
And he used it to show how urgent these environmental issues were.
It makes you think all the time he spent touring, traveling the world. He must have seen the impact firsthand.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure those experiences changed how he felt about nature.
Right.
Made him more aware of how fragile things are.
So we've got this commitment to children, to Africa, to the environment. What else should we be looking at?
Well, we haven't talked about his work with HIV/AIDS awareness yet.
Oh, right. Back in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
The stigma was huge back then.
It was. A lot of public figures wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
But Michael, he wasn't afraid.
Really?
He used his platform to support those affected.
It sounds like he really wanted to challenge how people thought about HIV/AIDS.
He did, yeah. And to understand this part of his work, you have to know about Ryan White.
Okay.
He was a young boy, got AIDS from a blood transfusion.
I remember hearing about him. Heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah. He was discriminated against so badly. But Michael, he embraced Ryan.
Really?
Treated him like family.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's so inspiring to see how he used that friendship to teach people about the disease,
Exactly. To show everyone that the people suffering, they were human beings.
And that compassion, it showed up in other ways, too, like with disaster relief.
Yeah.
Remember his response to 9/11?
Oh, yeah. Right away, he put together that United We Stand concert.
Yeah.
Co-wrote that charity single, What More Can I Give?
Right. And they
Sweet.
raised millions of dollars for the families. They did, yeah. And then after Hurricane Katrina,
Right.
he opened up Neverland Ranch to families who lost their homes.
Oh, wow.
And he was even planning another benefit concert.
Yeah.
But that one never happened.
It's incredible how he always stepped up when things were bad,
Yeah.
using his influence to help. But it seems like through it all, children were always his focus.
You're right. The Children's Defense Fund, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, he supported them constantly. Donations, funding projects, visiting kids in hospitals everywhere.
Like it was his mission to give hope to children.
It's like he understood them in a way.
Yeah.
Even during his tours, he'd make donations to children's hospitals, spend time with the kids.
Wow.
No fanfare, no cameras. Just him wanting to connect.
It really makes you rethink how you see him.
It does. It makes you realize there was so much more to him than the public image.
Yeah.
All that compassion, all that work to make the world better.
So we've covered a lot here.
We have.
Africa, the environment, HIVs, disaster relief, children's causes. It's really something. What do you take away from all of that? I mean, that's a lot to take in, all the different things he did. Yeah. I knew he did, charity work and stuff. But I had no idea about any of this, how much he did.
It's easy to just see the surface stuff,
Right.
The music, all the fame, the controversies,
Yeah.
But when you look at everything he did to help people, you see a totally different side to him.
Yeah, and it's been like putting a puzzle together, you know what I mean? Like every piece we find shows us a different part of who he was.
Exactly. And the thing is, his giving, it wasn't just for one cause or for a certain time in his life.
Right.
It was just part of him, you know?
Yeah.
Like his whole life he wanted to make a difference.
Yeah.
He used everything he had to do it.
If you had to pick one thing, like the most important part of his legacy, what would it be?
I think it's that he showed what one person can do. He was a huge star. But his story shows us that everyone can make things better.
Right.
Doesn't matter if it's like small acts of kindness or big donations. We all have a part to play.
That's a powerful message. And it's, well, especially important now, I think.
Yeah.
You know, the world's got so many problems.
Yeah.
It's easy to feel like what we do doesn't matter.
I get it. But Michael, he proved that it does matter. Every little thing adds up. Donating, volunteering, just being kind.
Right.
It all makes a difference.
So what can our listeners take away from all of this? Like, what should they be thinking about?
I'd say think about the causes you care about the most.
Okay.
The ones that you really want to get involved with.
Yeah.
And then just take that first step, even a small one. You can volunteer somewhere, donate, talk about it on social media.
I like that. Find your own way to make a difference.
Exactly.
Use what we've learned today as inspiration. And who knows, maybe it'll inspire others.
I hope so.
It's like Michael's legacy spreading out.
Yeah. Making the world more compassionate, more just.
You said it perfectly. He showed that even with all the fame and money, you can still be a good person.
Well, we'll leave you with that thought.
Yeah.
What will you do to make a difference? How will you use your talents, your passions?
Yeah, great question.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep believing that you can change the world.